Let's leave that for now because we could hypothesize forever about what's going to happen there. And let's talk a little bit about the junior minors. So, there's no question 2012 was a volatile year. So what are you seeing for 2013? And for investors, where should they be looking for the opportunities and how?
I think it's going to be more of the same. I mean, I know that I get to speak freely here. Really, I'm not that favorable to the junior sector right now. The market moves in cycles. The main cycle of the junior explorers was really, really the right place to be between early 2000 and say 2006 or 7 or so. Right now, you really want to be in companies that have growth availability due to the fact that they're producing and they have good margins. And even at today's prices that are okay, but not really where they should be, that they can either increase production or maintain. You could look selectively at some, speculative companies. I always do. I'm here for that reason, among others. But it's tough pickings because it's very difficult to find capital to invest in these smaller companies now. Those days are pretty much over. So I focus on where is the money going. It's going to the mid-tiers and the top tiers. There will be a time in the future when the market is hot again where that sector will become red hot. And I know that's going to happen. But I don't think
this, near term,
not in the near term.
No.
I don't see that happening this year. Again, I could be wrong with this wild card we talked about.
Okay, I want to switch gears and I want to ask you about a piece that you wrote about Generation Y and the challenges that generation has, because you had some interesting things to say when it comes to Gen Y and the baby boomers. So first off, just fill us in a little bit about your thinking on that.
Well, first of all, I think it's kind of like my era going back when I was like a teenager in my early 20s, don't trust the establishment. I think this Generation Y is like very leery. They know that the political class is basically lied to them. They don't know what's real. I think a lot of them are using stuff and not owning it. They rather like rent a cell phone or throw it away or rent a car and use it or rent a bicycle there in a new city or take public transportation. I think they're very wise about that. This materialism that has been so pervasive through the baby boomer generation, which I'm a part of. I think Generation Y has rethought that whole thing. It's something that we use. It's not something we own. The more stuff that we own, the more it weights us down. I'm not as mobile. I'm not as free when I have all this stuff. So that's one thing. The other thing is I think they're looking for truth seekers. I think generally the Generation Y is looking to find the truth. And there aren't many people in the mainstream press that have anything to say that isn't really, really slanted or painted with an orientation or an outcome or a direction. So the propaganda press, as I call it, they've given up on that. Most of those people are looking at the internet for information. Internet's great, but it's totally free market, which means you've got to be,
You're on the internet.
I'm on the internet all the time.
And so you can say what you think.
I can say what I think, but you also got to, believe me or not. In other words, do your own due diligence, weigh it against what you really know, because, it's free, which means you got to use some discretion when you listen to anyone, including myself. But having said that, I think there's a lot more great information available on the internet that you'll ever get from the mainstream press.
And it's being able to sift through that and to be able to discern, what the noise is and, where the real quality gems are, right?
And I'm favorable to Generation Y. I think their expectations are pretty realistic. I mean, it's the first time, I think it was the New York Times, I don't want to misquote it, that said, that generation's expectations are that their living standards will not be as great as their parents were. Mm-hmm. Well, what is that? That's based on materialism only. Maybe they're going to be more spiritual. Maybe they're going to be more giving. Maybe they're going to be more empathetic. Maybe they're going to be more compassionate. Maybe they're going to be more human. I mean, these are things of real value, but no one ever talks about that. I think those are important things to get across. And that was why I did some of those films I did. Like The Matrix was all about going down the rabbit hole so deep that you understand what's really important. I mean, you just don't want to get inundated with commercialism all your life and advertising agencies that tell you how to live your life. Are you kidding me? A reality show? Are you kidding me? I mean, you've got to have your own life. I mean, people ask me, have you seen this? I don't have time. I have a life. I don't have time to watch some reality show.
So some hope for the Gen Y then in 2013.
I'm sorry?
So some optimism.
Absolutely.
Definitely,
I think, first of all, love what you have. Most people in the North American continent have a very great life. They just don't know it because they don't travel like I do, to go out and see what the third world looks like, to see what these people actually deal with on a daily basis. They're in this, boob tube mentality, looking at what the TV's telling them their life should be like, instead of what their life really is compared to something else. So, I get a little irate about it. You could tell I'm passionate about that as well.
We'll call it passion.